Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, goals strategist, book proposal specialist, author, podcaster, obviously. Two of my books are 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting and Your Goal Guide. So obviously the host of GoalChat can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the topic. And today we're talking about writing and productivity. And I love there's just this bizarre, fun, organic way that some of these conversations come together. So Christine and I met briefly, like literally for like 5 minutes over like Innovation Women office hours with Bobby Carlton. And she set up a time to talk. And I'm like, I have to get you on. What are we going to talk about? Okay, writing and productivity. And then Danielle, who I had met a few times through Annie P. Ruggles and her event, I'm like, oh, great. I've got this perfect topic. Wait, now Danny's in Israel. I'm like, do you mind staying up? What is it, like 2 o'clock in the morning? Or
It is 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m. She's like, I've got clients. I'll be fine. And you're also beating out Leslie March, who called in from Scotland last week. So she was 2 hours earlier. So now I can say, see, you are no longer my latest staying up late guest. And so I had this wonderful conversation, and I'm like, gotta get Dr. Judith Briles in on the action. And I think especially, so we're recording this, it's the end of August. Everybody's like ramping up for what we're going to do toward the end of the year. And what do we all want? We want to be more productive. We want to do the things and enjoy the things. So I figured, why not bring these powerhouses together? And here we are. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Debra Eckerling. You might be watching this as GoalChat Live. You might be watching the replay, or you could be listening to us as GoalChat on the Marketing Podcast Network. But no matter how you found us, we're so glad you're here and wanting to be more productive, especially with your writing, because come on, you got to do the things, right? Anyway, I would love for my guests to introduce themselves better, because right now all you know is that they're awesome, which, although accurate, I kind of feel like we should share more. So, Judith, why don't you kick us off by sharing who you are? And I know, or like pick like your top 5, because you're like a gazillion people like me.
Okay, so I'm Judith Briles. I am a reluctant author. Never intended to write a book. Only started writing because a well-known author took my material and published it as his own, and his name, Art Buchwald. From that, the epiphany dropped in that said, JB, if you don't start taking your own words and your work, other people will. Little did I know that books breed more books. And now I have just published my
Yay.
49th one. 49 Appetizers with Judith. I started writing cookbooks last year. Prior to that, I dealt with finance exclusively. I was a nonfiction author. I evolved into conflict resolution, specifically in the healthcare workplace, and why women undermine other women. That evolved into just all I did was do publishing and showing people how to write, how to publish, and how to be successful authors. And then all of a sudden, historical fiction entered my scene. And now we're doing cooking, because I've always cooked and people hounded me, when are you going to share your stuff? So that's what I do. I have a podcast, Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing. It's had over 22 million downloads. And it's all about author success, writer success, publishing success. If you're looking about, about my relationships, that is not on my show. So, anyway, I'm based in Denver, Colorado. I am the founder of the Authors Hall of Fame, where we celebrate the legacy of authors so they're not forgotten. So that's it, Deb. How's that for today?
I think that's perfect. And I'm sure you missed some things, but again, always good to hang out with you. Well, you and I believe that if people are writing books, they need to have as many resources at their disposal so they do it right.
Yep.
So there you go.
And to recognize they're also going to do it wrong. We make mistakes. We learn from the mistakes. And you just got to pick it up and keep it going. If that's your dream to become a reality, if you want to become a doer versus just diddling and thinking about it, you know.
And if you want to think about it, that's fine too, but you need to know your goal. Look what I did. I brought it all back here. I think now I go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, but this is also going to go on my book proposal Substack as well, because we are very authory today. So, Christine, welcome. Yes, I did that without breathing. Very happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. I'm Christine Carron, productivity expert, speaker, and founder of Goodjelly. And what we do at Goodjelly is we help you get your best work done as fast as possible without sacrificing yourself in the process. And I'm also a writer. And when I started going to writing conferences, I also have a background in corporate and being a process improvement expert. And when I went to writing conferences, I would hear writers talk and they would be struggling about how hard the writing adventure is and the creative adventure is. But what I was hearing that they were struggling with had nothing to do actually with craft or their talent. It all had to do with just basic work management on some levels. And I had the thought, wow, the writing adventure doesn't have to be so hard. And eventually I decided to start Goodjelly to help people make it easier to make progress. And the premises of Goodjelly is that the craft of your art, the craft of your writing is different from the craft of getting your writing done. And Goodjelly is all about the latter. So in our programs, we don't read anybody's work. So it's lovely to have Danielle here and Judith here. And of course you, Debra, where you're reading the work. What I found in our programs is the moment you add that adds a level of vulnerability and stress, and they lose the focus on this idea of the process, just moving it forward. And so that's what we focus on in particular. And so we share plans and look at plans and get support that way. So that's Goodjelly.
I love that. And I actually am kind of in the middle as the book proposal expert. It's not just about the idea, it's about framing the ideas and making them marketable. So I am literally a piece of the buffet of each of you.
Yes.
Danielle.
Yes.
Happy to have you here. Other than the fact that you're on the other side of the world, what else do people need to know about you?
So I am Danielle Weil. I have been a copywriter for the past 20 years. So I have written words that have sold over $170 million in products. And that's the day job. But I'm also a copywriting and marketing mentor and a writing coach for business owners and entrepreneurs. And what I've been doing lately is helping them reclaim their creativity and their message and their voice and unlock some of those new ideas so that they can refine their message and attract the people that need them. So it's really the intersection of creativity, constraints, and conversions that sweet spot in the middle, where if you are the thought leader, speaker, entrepreneur, you've got to write and you've got to produce content and ideas and copy that converts. And so I help guide people through that process.
Got it. Love it. Yes, you're all the things. So my community, Write On Online, which I led in person, online, a hybrid, but it started out as a writer support group, but evolved into a community for writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs, because if you're one, you're the other two. That's just how the world works, right? What do you think, though, before we fix people, what is the whole construct of productivity where everybody feels like, if I'm not being productive, then what did I do today? So can we define productivity? That's the question. Judith is like, we can, Deb.
Well, I was going to throw it to Christine. I mean, she's our productivity. I'll do ads. I think we all can add on. So I'd like to start with Christine on that one.
Okay, Christine, you're in the hot seat. Define productivity.
I'm so ready for the hot seat. I distinguish between traditional old school productivity, where it's all about more faster. And when you're over focusing on more faster, that can actually get in the way of you getting your best work done, because just doing things doesn't guarantee that something's going to be productive. So my definition of productivity goes back to what I said earlier: your best work done as fast as possible. And that doesn't always mean going fast.
Mhm. Well, where I'm going to add on to that, Deb, is that where I see authors get in trouble all the time, and the writers, and Daniel may want to add that, is the perfection factor. That they go over, they get stuck with the 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, 3 to get ready, 3 to get frickin' ready. And they don't go. And that this perfection factor, that it has to be perfect on the first get-go, is nuts. And when they diddle for hours over a sentence, where I tell my authors, just put ZZZ in. It means you have to come back to it. You can find it easy, but just let your creativity allow your productivity to go forward versus getting stuck on this other stuff. It's a common factor I see, and it's probably the seed for failure for most authors.
I think just to add on to that too, the piece that is also important to consider is what is going to actually move the needle and make a difference. And I'm coming at it from a bit of the entrepreneurial perspective. What could we write? What could we work on? What could we change? Is it the headline? The headline is going to do 80% of the heavy lifting. Spend the most time there. And so are you pointing your best hours at the right things that have the biggest leverage?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jump on in, please.
Well, I mean, thinking about that, especially what Danielle was just talking about, I think if we're, talking about what gets in the way of productivity, is people have especially creative people, have a very flat view of what their real work is. Like it's, like we all have this fantasy that we're going to be sitting in a garret and the words are just going to be flowing. But that can keep you from doing a lot of things that will actually move you forward. Sometimes it seems like a lot of people come into my program and all of a sudden they spend time just getting their files organized and setting themselves up to work, because they were so freaked out that meant that they were in resistance and procrastinating, that they would lose 10 to 15 minutes. They couldn't just knock the bow and go. Every time they sat down to work, they were searching for their files. So to pause, slow down, and just do the thing that will then make you be able to, loose the bow again and again in the writing sessions. That's what I call round creative work. And that's the full scope of your work, from marketing to daydreaming to getting more words on the page.
Mm-hmm. And I'm with Danielle. I am a stickler for headlines, a stickler for it. And in fact, one of the things I insist with all my clients that I personally work with, I will write your back cover copy. I will write it. And we will get the headline. It will get the snap, crackle, and pop that you need, that will pull people in. Because I like to use the analogy of fishing, that your headline is designed for just throwing that reel out there, getting your reel going, throwing it out there, the line, and then you just start reeling it in. And the hook is the headline going on it. And for all the nonfiction authors out there, your subtitle is a headline. It's the promise between the covers of what you're going to deliver. And if you don't stipulate that, you're in deep doo-doo. You're in deep doo-doo really fast. And you need to have that emotional pull. And the headline, the title is just to snag them, to pick up the book and start it going. I think for the marketing, which is where I get into heavy, a lot of people don't realize on marketing that a book cover is up to 7 seconds, and that's it. That is it. It's a back cover copy that will sell your book.
Yes, and
Yeah.
no, well, as someone who specializes in book proposals, absolutely everything you said, but I get to people even before then, which is their differentiator. So I do my strategic starting point workshop for book proposal for usually it's non-writers, but writers are also invited who are interested in writing a nonfiction book. But I say you're going to leave with your book title and your differentiating statement, because if you do not have those two things, you're not going to be productive, because you're going to be mucking around trying to figure out what the things are.
I think that I'm a little bit more open, Deb. I sometimes book titles will come and talk to you in the process, and I think you have to give that window to allow it to fly open, and all of a sudden, oh my God! We're finishing the 4th book in a series right now, and I had an idea which actually opened up. If we decide to do book 5, will be the opening title for the next one in the Secret series. But that I think that sometimes they have to gel a little bit and for fiction. And actually, I'm going to go back and support your book proposal, what you're doing there. I think everyone, I don't care if you're an independent, you're a self-publisher, or you're trying to nail down the big boys, everyone should have a book proposal. It really creates the guideposts for you to plan and go back and actually remind you why you're doing this thing and why you're the one who should be doing this thing in it. So I'm a big proponent of having that as part of your toolkit from the get-go.
And I would add in that me looking at that from a productivity perspective, that is a piece of work that you have to manage forward. And there's a process to do that. And you have to break down that work in a way that works for your brain. So Judith, you might be working with 6 different people, and what's going to create the opening, and all of you, the opening for one person to get to that book proposal or the headline is going to be different. And so for me, a lot of what we work with is helping people almost reclaim their creative authority to say, okay, book proposal is the go. That's the goal and the where we're going toward. And now my path may look a little bit different than someone else's. And I'm focused on y'all are saying the book proposal is really, really important. And I'm saying, okay, well then,
what do you need to do to get it done, right?
Yeah, and to break down the work so it works for your brain in the context of your life.
Right. And I love it that you said your brain. One of my pet peeves is the formula people that says everyone has to do it this way. No, they don't.
This is why I wrote this book, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting, because the secret is there is no one secret. So I love that you said that. Danielle, you've been so quiet. Please jump on in.
Yeah, we have to keep her awake.
Try to keep me awake.
Jump on in. I feel like it's jump in the pool. The water's fine. I don't know about you all. I'm in LA and apparently it's hot again.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'm in Denver. It's hot again. Although I see a little clouds out there. Thunderstorms are coming in again.
Okay, so
Wow.
Danielle, what is your take on the why and the how that productivity gets in the way of writing, or to reframe productivity so it does not?
Ooh. So I think it's a matter of asking, what is the goal? Is the goal to be a productive writer, or is the goal to actually write something worth reading? And not just worth reading, but that is going to, in my world, convert and perform and bring in the sales that it's supposed to bring in. And once you put it in place in a funnel, that becomes an engine that will work for years at a time. I have clients who created one sales page, and that sales page has brought in millions of dollars in sales. And so At the end of the day, though, if you are doing a launch or a live promotion, there are real deadlines. If you are writing a book, sometimes there are real deadlines about when you have to submit things and make them happen. And so if that email is going out today, it has to be written today
or yesterday.
And
does that?
you've got to, like Christine said, figure out a way to hack your own work style to, even when you are tired, not inspired, have no ideas. I've got 4 kids and they're all on summer vacation right now. I've got them knocking on the door going, we're hungry, we're bored. How do you, with everything else that's going on in your life, create that? I don't love the phrase creativity on demand, but creativity on demand.
Ooh, that is the hard one. Well, I think that all these things are so integrated with each other. When Deb's heard me use this expression, and I use it all the time, that when I go into the zone, I am so myopically focused that everything else is blocked. And going, if that's my goal, if I have to finish, I used to play games with myself. If you finish this chapter, you get to go pee. All right. So that, I have done that in the past. Or you get up and you're going to have a lovely dinner. I have different things. I'm able to write an entire draft of a book in a week when I am so myopically focused. And it depends upon where you're going with it, to move from being that just dreamer to the doer. And that's where that productivity. And I think what's really important for all of our people who are with us today is to really understand what your own personal goal is, not someone else's goal. You got to really understand what's driving you from the get-go, and then what your commitment is to get there in time, energy, and money. All of those things come together in this process called writing a book.
I really love that you said that. Well, all the things, but the thing that my brain just kind of hooked onto is you are doing it for yourself, not for other people, because you want a surefire way for your book or your project or your whatever to never get written, and have it not be your idea. Right? Someone says, oh, you know this, you should write this book, or, oh, you know this, you should start a Substack or whatever. Nothing blocks productivity more than it not coming from your own goals and desires. Yeah, Christine wants to jump in, I can tell.
Yeah, going back to what Judith said about, she said, when you're in the zone, and there's that sense of like, that's, I never know if I'm saying his name right, but Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, I'm going to go for it.
Whoa.
Flow. And the question you asked earlier, Deborah, was what gets in the way of productivity? And I think sometimes we have, again, this fantasy notion of what progress is going to look like. And so I talk about compound flow, and I call it uppercase flow, where, Judith is in the zone, things are coming. And then what Danielle was talking about, where it's like creativity on demand, you also have to understand lowercase flow. You have to understand that some days you're going to have to get up and do this and be able to say, you know what, I have 15 minutes right here. Danielle, I'm guessing with 4 kids, there are moments where all you have are 15 minutes. And sometimes I work with writers in particular who are like, they start out thinking they need 3 hours. I'm like, no, you don't. If you have 3 hours, great, but having 3 hours is its own problem if you don't know how to structure your work. So I just wanted to say, because I was like, oh my gosh, those are both those things.
And it is. And speaking of having 3 hours to write a thing, when I work with business owners and they're getting, I want to do more email marketing. I want to write more of my own copy. Like I want to be more consistent about what I'm doing. And yet I sit down to write an email and it takes me 3 hours. Like I don't have an idea. I don't know what to write. I can guess myself, I write, and then I delete, and there's a blank page, and there's like the panic that sets in of the blank page, and where do I start? And I think that, like, if it takes 3 hours, you have a problem. I prove to people that they can write a good email to their list in their business and replace that with whatever you want to write in 20 to 30 minutes. And how do you do that? By giving yourself that amount of time. And sometimes it's the constraints that you put on either the time or the topic or whatever it is you're doing that get you into that mode of like, okay, great, we've got to figure out how to do this because that 15 minutes is all we have. So how do we make it work?
I have to share a funny story that you will all appreciate, but especially Danielle. I remember my senior year of college, I took a feature writing class, and we always had an article due 9 o'clock Tuesday. I would start mine, started Mondays at 3. As the semester progressed, I would start them later at 8 and 10, to the point of where I think toward the end, I would write them first thing in the morning before they were actually due. But part of it is getting in that habit. But part of it is the deadline, because the more you write, the easier it's going to be to write. That's just, I think it's science, right? Far be it from me to mention science. But the more that you do of any kind of muscle, it's going to be easier. But that just always comes up in my head when I'm having conversations like this, because you know what you have to do to get the stuff done. You know how much time it takes and why we need deadlines. Sometimes you just have to give yourself a little bit earlier of a deadline so you don't drive yourself nuts. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would also say, Debra, that what you said was really important that seems to get lost when people start planning their work. You said, when you first do something for the first time, it's going to take longer than when you've done it 50 times or 100 times. So from a planning perspective, if you want to get to where Danielle said of like, okay, I can churn out emails in 20 minutes, you may need to at first break down that work differently to say, okay, first I'm going to say, I just have to pick my topic in 5 minutes. Then I have to bullet out 3, whatever, Danielle, whatever your process is, they may need to break that down a little bit differently. It's kind of like people hear a famous author say, this is my process, and they think they're supposed to go from 0 to that immediately versus saying, what's my path if I want to experiment with that approach to get there? And so sometimes from a process perspective, all these things that we just know are true get lost when we start planning or mapping out the work.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
When we're sitting down to write something, at least putting the time constraint around it, if you remove the pressure of, okay, this has to be done and it has to be good, and just say, okay, this just has to be done, we'll worry about it being good later. Like Judith said, put the Z's, I use asterisks. Like, just keep going, just keep swimming in the time that you have. And okay, so it'll be a bad pancake, we'll edit later. It's a messy draft, that's part of the process. And accepting that, then you get less of the perfectionism, the less of the, okay, delete, okay, whatever, we're just going to get something out on the page.
Mm-hmm. And I think also where you're doing these things, as someone who writes 2 blogs a week, a full-blown newsletter every week, who does a podcast every week, that when there's a formula you get yourself into. So in putting these things together, as you do it. And so when I hear someone say it takes you 20 freaking minutes to do an email, oh, for God's sakes, get over here. I'll show you what to do. It's just, and
to do it in 5.
Absolutely. Or a minute. It depends. It depends on what you're doing. But I think it's really important to recognize that once you start, it's easier. It's when, It's the more you write, the better you write. And the better you write, the
Right.
faster you write. And there's just all those kind of things that come into play. But I think that I'm so glad Christine is here, because that the productivity factor is a huge factor. And I see so many authors, and I start with a lot of writers that are coming out of the ground, and we have to do a whole foundation building. I'm said, block 2 hours with me because we're going through infrastructure and we're going to start today. And starting to get the setup. And there's so much that has to be done. And the bottom line is, when it comes to writing, everyone, your book, that's the goal, to have a book versus an article or whatever. 10% is the writing, 90% is the marketing. And you're going to be the one that will do it.
And the book proposal for those nonfiction authors, that is the structure of, that's what you sell. Unless it's a memoir, you're not writing the whole book, but you are figuring out what the book is. And that's, I was going to say, what makes it easy. All of my books I've written in 3 months. They've all been out within a year of or within about a year of the green light. But you can only do that if you know what you are writing. And whether it's fiction and infrastructure, whether it's nonfiction and book proposals, whether it's content for your blog, your website, your emails, all the things, you need to figure out what is the coloring book, what is the blueprint, and then you could fill in the things. I feel like you want to say something, Christine.
Oh, I mean, I'll always jump in, but I was not chomping at the bit right there. I do just want to say for people listening, because there can be a lot of shame around productivity and speed in particular, that if you're not at the speed of going as fast as you want or as fast as you think you should be, just give yourself grace and know that you're in the game. You're listening to us talk. It's part of your creative work, and you're getting ideas, and you're hearing encouragement, and you're hearing possibility. If it's taking you 2 hours now, look, they're saying 20 minutes and 5 minutes. Just keep going. So it's both holding the grace and meeting yourself where you are, and setting the direction of where you want to get to. And that just takes a lot of, people always think with productivity, all I'm teaching that are like tips, tricks, and hacks. And I can dispense with some of the basic process stuff and get people easy wins in like the first week. But it's more the creative authority and the sustainability of working with yourself, which is where you're really, in essence, not just designing progress and productivity, you're designing the creative life you want to be on, which is sustainable and joyful and working how you work, not how you think some mythical right way to write or be productive is.
So you pre-answered my next question, which is, how do you balance writing and productivity? And I think no speed shame is huge. Do you want to elaborate on that or add to that?
Well, on a certain level, like I can go a little nerdy and say it's basic systems theory. If you overemphasize one variable in your system, if you're over-focused on speed only, you'll maybe get some productivity this way, but eventually it's going to go down. You're going to burn out. But if you're saying, what is the appropriate amount of speed for what I'm doing right now? And, if you all are working with someone who has the reps, who has worked with you for a while, you can say, okay, next week, show me this, this, and this, because they can produce at that top speed. I work with people who, have a lot of shame even just about writing, and giving themselves permission. Hey, part of my writing work is to get into a craft class, and they're not going to be going as fast. So it's just this sense of productivity takes all kinds of speeds, not just maxing out as fast as possible all the time. And it doesn't even mean just because you wrote 3,000 words one day that you're going to have to do that every day from there on out because one day you wrote that many words. It's just celebrate the $3,000 word a day, and then set something that is so easy for you to do for the consistency, because that builds the rep, which is what I'm hearing these experts talk about, who are the craft of writing experts, to say, this is what will get you faster. You can work toward that. It's the practice.
And speed is not, as you said, speed is not always the goal. If there are some things that 20 years, I can write an email in 20 minutes because I've been doing it for 20 years. But the things that I write for clients and things that I sometimes want my writing to be slow because I'm enjoying it and I'm doing it for me. And I want to take time with that sentence, and I want to take time with that thought. And I am enjoying the process and not just the goal of the output. And if we're talking about that balance, we're balancing the joy that we get from the act of creation and the world outside that tells us we must produce, and here's your deadline, and here's how many words you have to create, and here's what has to happen now. And sometimes they're in conflict, and sometimes you just have to say, well, today it's going to be slow.
I think it's also important to recognize what kind of writer you are. I'm a binge writer. And that's why I can go away in a week and come back with a draft. But I've done all this stuff to prep so I could be in a high productivity aura during that time, where literally I have tape that I put across my door. It's like crime scene tape. Author at work, do not cross. Stay out, people. And I think that you do have to recognize what your set is. And again, going back to what we were saying, and Deb held up her goal book, it's not what other people say you have to go at this certain level. It's what you feel in your gut is the right level to go out. And that some days are going to be higher in whatever you do, and other days are going to be, you need just to mosey through the day or take it off.
So I've become a little bit obsessed lately with walking. How you're supposed to, because I'm at a computer all day, right? And I have mandatory walks at the end of my day. And one day I walked 10,000 steps. Prior to that, I'm like, 5,000 is good as long as I do a little bit more than half the way of the recommended. But it got really easy to get obsessive about getting 10,000 steps. Yeah. I think that's a good lesson for writers as well, because some days, I will tell you, over the weekend, maybe I did 5,000 total between Saturday and Sunday, because my body was like, Deb, come on, give me a break. All right, chill out. And I think it's a really good analogy for the writing. Yes, the more you do it, the more you get in the rhythm, the more you want to do it, which is great. But you also need to be aware that there are other things going on in life. And it's the balance part. What are you not doing because you are doing this? And is that the priority? I know I'm getting all philosophical,
and then there's the tension between consistency of, we're gonna, here's my running, we're gonna do this every day, and the innate seasonality of life and the cyclical nature of, we need to work and then we need to rest. And some seasons will be more productive than others. And not to get too woo-woo on you here, but some seasons are for planting and some seasons, right? Like, you've got to just lie fallow. And that's just how the world works. And that, we're women here, if you're listening to it, and you're not, cool too, but there's the cyclical nature of how we produce things. And what that requires is not always look like producing things.
It's not always linear. And you are so not too woo woo for me, because one of my basic models is the creative process is cyclical, and traditional productivity is always like harvest, 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 ship, 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 ship. And I'm like, wait a second.
It reminds me of when I used to speak all over the world. I've spoken all 50 states, 20 countries on my books that I've written. And I would come home and my husband would say, well, God, you have a lot, you're behind. You need to get back in the office. I'm in the kitchen cooking because that was part of my reroute to get in. I mean, sometimes I would fly home to sleep in my bed that night and fly out the next morning. I think that you have to find we each have our own comfort zones and where we need to fall back in. So, Deb, if you only do 100 steps tomorrow, totally okay.
Okay, so I did 1,000 yesterday, which was like the lowest ever. Yes, I'm admitting true confessions of Deb and her steps. But the thing that really amuses me is, and this is part of the Deb method for goal setting simplified, is one of my rules is the 5 of 7 rule, which basically tells people that you don't, not only do you not need to do, don't break the chain, it gives you permission to break the chain. And I just amused myself because I got caught up, and then I had to remind myself that the 5 of 7 rule is a thing. Might just be my thing, but it is still a thing. But to look at your week and say, okay, whether it's words or steps, I can do this many 3 days this week. And then if you do more, and you're pleasantly surprised. But always set it up so you know your minimum, what you could do. Do not overpromise yourself, because when you get the wins, you get excited and you want to do more, which is how I got into the step spiral in the first place.
But I think it's really important to just really look what your own body is telling you. Sometimes your own writing is telling you. I mean, every one of us has clients we work with. We have some set things we have to deal with every day. I have 3 employees overseas. They are my priority to work with in the, from 5 in the morning to 8 every morning before I turn loose into other areas. And with the other writings that I have to do for our business, I know that I have a timeline where I need to get them done to turn them in, that they're out of my hair. Otherwise, then I have more flexibility. But there is not one time that I cannot go in, unless I have surgery, like I had a hip replaced here a couple weeks ago, that I can't go in and say, I need to cancel everything and do a focus down with someone else I'm working with or whatever, because they may be in crisis. And I'm sure, Danielle, you've dealt with clients with writing crises and deadlines. We all have in some way. That flexibility, adaptability, I think is really important for all of us in this business.
I always find it amusing when people are like, Deb, when do you want to get together? And I'm like, my week's different every week. You tell me and I'll be able to tell you yes or no. Okay, Christine, go on.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they start thinking about productivity, I can almost see a physical recoiling, because they think it's going to be monotone and it's going to be constrictive. And I mean, it's smart if you don't want to do that. No wonder people are opting out of being productive. And so this idea that it's this monotone and always the same, even Judith, you're saying you're very consistent and you figured out how to pause for your hip surgery. So there is, and you also talked about how you're able to churn out those books fast. I want everyone to hear what you also said. I went into that with a lot of preparation. That is all legit work that counts, that you made time for, that is different from letting the arrow fly. And so what I always talk about is, let's get out of this linear mode, and you want your progress to feel bouncy. Like, okay, I did it, bounce, I can do the next part. So there's this more sense of rhythm to it than monotone.
Well, And almost like what you actually produce is the tip of the iceberg, and everything underneath is all of the input, the thought, when I'm not feeling inspired, I will go take a shower. I don't know if anyone else uses that hack. Somehow, as soon as the water turned, like I know exactly what I'm going to write, to the point where I had my husband put a notepad in there. Because forcing it, like, okay, we are going to write now. If you have to, that's great. And sometimes that's not going to work. And everything underneath is everything, like Judith said, that went into that preparation so that when you go, you can go. So all the research that you did, the outlines, the thinking, the putting different thoughts together, the ideas that are discarded, it's all part of it, but it's the part that's not seen. And the part that we tend to not give ourselves credit for.
Exactly. And I carry several sticky note pads because I actually lay out entire books with sticky notes. So you find out what works with you. And I have a confession too. You're in the shower getting ideas. I'm a hot tub girl. I start every morning in the hot tub with a hot mug of tea and just settle in. I have an orchestra of birds around me that are kind of saying, okay, we're going to wake up. And really kind of visualizing where I do need to go today, but also knowing, things can happen. They always do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Christine, what is your preferred body of water to get the ideas flowing?
Yeah.
Literal flowing.
A bath. I like a bath. And this always seems to surprise people. I grew up in the Midwest, so I am not an ocean person. I think the ocean is loud. So I like lakes. I like lakes and mountains together.
Okay, then. And
so, Deb, what's your preferred body of water?
Well, I'm an LA girl who grew up in the Midwest, but what I was going to say is I take walks and then I shower because I've just taken a walk and I need to shower. So which part of it jogs? But actually my favorite way of unclogging my brain is cooking, because you can't doom scroll. You can't do other things while you're chopping vegetables. You have to be in it. So that is my actual preferred way if I'm stuck to sort of figure out what's next. But I do the walk and then I come home and then I shower and then I'm like refreshed I usually do this like after dinner. So then I'm refreshed to do like the actual writing, creative, fun stuff in the evening.
See, I'm one of these people because I'm up so early in the morning between 4 and 5. And in the office actually working. I run out of some of my creativity juice, but because I have other things going at home I have responsibilities for. But 5 o'clock, I'm just kind of, I never take appointments after 5 o'clock my time. A client say, but can we get together tonight? No, because I'm not at peak performance.
And because of my time zone, and I've never been a morning person. My mom used to wake me up for school in kindergarten and I would cry. So those 5 a.m. routines, I'm like, please no. And so my 9 to 12 in the morning is my most productive time once I've had a cup of coffee in me. And then I'm on calls. Usually I'm up late at night. And so I've got this rhythm where I've got a couple hours in the morning and then there's a nap and then there's like a round 2, which speaks to everybody just has to figure out when your sweet spot is and guard that time and save it for the most important stuff.
Christine?
I'm with Judith. I'm such a morning person.
Oh, good.
Crazy early. And it's actually very sad for me because I can't say that water is my thing necessarily for ideas. It's dancing. And I love dancing Argentine tango. But I have to say, I can't do it very much because that stuff starts at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So someday I'm going to have tea and tango or sunrise tango so people can dance with me at 5 a.m.
Hey, I think that's very cool. But Danielle, you're halfway around the world, so you know that I always find, because I work with people overseas all the time too. There is a happy medium that we can find that will overlap our times that we're on to
Um,
get together, and we just have to find those.
and what I do is a little bit different. I only do meetings and clients appointments on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Since Monday is my show day, if I've got a couple morning meetings, but I basically have most of my day to get my work or my client work done. And then Fridays I try. I don't always succeed, but I try not to have appointments after one, because what'll happen is if I'm spending most of my days like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with client work and Zoom and interviews and workshops and all of the things, that means I have to get my work done on the weekend. That is also not okay. I think part of the balance is figuring out when you, and I love what I do. I'd work all the time, sometimes I do, but I think that's one of the challenges when you love what you do. It's like, oh, fine, I'll work on the weekend. It's great. It's good stuff. But no, your body will get mad at you if you work 7 days a week. So you need to remember that as well.
Well, I'm one of those people sometimes who does work on the weekend.
Well, I'm not at all surprised.
Yesterday, on Sunday, it was actually a 12-hour day for a client who is in Europe playing, and I have the productivity has to be ready to deliver to him when he shows up on Friday. So, those are just goals you have to meet, and you just have to plan around them. And so Sunday was my quiet time to do that.
Exactly. The quiet time. I love the holidays because no one bugs me. I get so much done.
Oh,
well, and that's the advantage of the time zone for me, is that I wake up and everyone else is asleep that wants me. And so I love that time in the morning because nobody's bothering me. There's no meetings. There's no nothing. People in Europe are like, oh yeah, let's do a meeting during the day. And I'm like, no, that's my time. But my work week is also Sunday through Thursday. And then Friday night, I observe the Sabbath. My computer, my phone goes off, and that is just it. There's no negotiation there. Whatever did not get done, we'll wait till next week.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Everyone survives. Everyone survives. What's the hour zone? What is the time difference between Chicago and you?
8 hours ahead.
Oh, no, that's easy to work with.
Yeah.
Well, I love this conversation. I feel like everybody's getting like a sneak peek into the process of 4 very different, but not really that different, powerhouses as we are. What I would love to do now is for everybody to gift a goal to the audience. So what is something that they could do today, tomorrow, immediately to maybe it's be more productive, or maybe it's just to embrace their own strengths in the way they balance their lives. So Judith, what goal would you like to gift? And yes, you knew I was going to go to you first.
I'm going to lead it with 2 of my sayings, and I instill this, and I make all my authors write it down that I work with. 1, if you never say no, your yeses are worthless. If you never say no, your yeses are worthless. And the other is, don't do well what you have no business doing. So now we're going and tying back to, so what in your heart of hearts, my challenge to each of you is, what is the 3 things that are important for you to do? And you're going to block everything else out until you get there.
I love it. Christine, what goal are you gifting?
I'm going to say 1, general positioning statement, in that our positioning question is, every time you sit down to work and plan, ask yourself, how can I make this easier for me? The for me is key. And then a specific goal for tomorrow. Make a decision that you're going to do something for 10 minutes. I don't care what the thing is, something clean your files, write however many number of words you can get done, then pause, stand up, do a dance break, celebrate some way, and totally give yourself credit for getting that thing done. That creates the bounce. So claim the progress you are actually making, because you're probably making more than you think.
I love that. Did we discuss how much I love dance breaks and celebrations, or was it just telepathic?
Telepathic, probably.
Amazing. Yeah, you've got to celebrate the progress. This is one thing that I say frequently, which is before you can set goals, you need to count your wins. So
Yes.
we're at the end of the month. I'm going to sneak in a bonus goal because it is the end of the month, and write down your big wins for the month, and then write down what wins you want to be celebrating a month from now. So celebrate the things, but also future cast the wins.
Yeah.
And
And celebrate and future cast with flagrant generosity, not celebration stinginess. Flagrant generosity.
I love that.
I love that too. Okay, Danielle.
I think the gift is about embracing your constraints, not thinking, oh, I have this, I have all of this on my plate. How am I going to get it done? But saying, okay, this is what I have to work within. How can I make the most of what I have and use it to my advantage? How can I use it to make me more creative, to unlock something for me, whether that is your constraints on the time that you have to write, or what you're writing about, or the deadlines. It's not a bad thing. Constraints are not a bad thing. They can be used to your advantage.
I want to add another bonus goal because I love these so much. I'm like, oh, we should tell people do this. We should do, and this is it's in alignment with Judith's second goal, which is look at your life and get rid of one thing. What is that one thing that you avoid, that you procrastinate, that you never get around to? Just take it off your list. If it needs to be done, find someone else to do it. But I know this from personal experience. When you get rid of something that's not working for you, something better will come through to fill the time. I did, my birthday was earlier this month, and I had a project that I was always complaining about, so I got rid of the client. Oh, it's such a beautiful feeling. So I am gifting that bonus goal of getting rid of one of those things. It's amazing. Okay. On that tangent, friends, where can people learn more about each of you? Judith?
Well, I have a couple of websites. My book website, which I have to add my brand new book, which is the Judith Briles books.com. That's a plural, books.com. And then my regular consulting website that I work with is thebookshepherd.com.
Excellent.
They can always email me, judith@briles.com. Or sometimes people just pick up the phone or call and text. So that's 303-885-2207. There you go. You got them all.
You got them all. Amazing. And Christine, how can people learn more about you? Where, how?
Goodjelly.com is our website. You can check us out on YouTube at Goodjelly. And you can email me at Christine@goodjelly.com, and we can get you flowing again.
Okay. I meant to ask you, where did the name Goodjelly come from?
One of the reasons is people think that like process and productivity is kind of going to suck. So I wanted a name that created immediate cognitive dissonance to say that being productive can actually be a delight, and to create momentum and flow in a way that works for you is the polar opposite to convey some of the energy of what Goodjelly and what the jam method is.
Jammin'. as it were.
We're jamming.
We're jamming. Amazing. Danielle, where can people learn more about you?
You can find me at dwcopy.com or on LinkedIn. Just send me a message on LinkedIn.
Okay, and I am at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will get the recap, the replay. I put everybody's website links and their LinkedIn so you can connect with us all. And if you want to learn more about how I help thought leaders get books out of their head and into a way that makes it saleable, you can learn more at thebookproposalexpert.com. And if you need a little bit of extra inspiration for your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting at your favorite place to buy books. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can also subscribe to GoalChat on your favorite podcast platform. And GoalChat is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. Whew. Okay. Thank you all. We've had a bunch of people live, but we've been too intense in our conversation. So I will just do a quick shout out to Meryl, Hamilton, Kimberly, and whoever else said hello in the chat that I missed. Hello. We're again, whether you're watching us in real time or the replay or listening, it's all about embracing the life you want in your goals and getting more of the skills you need to create that life you deserve and desire. So we thank you for being here. I mean, we talk, we have fun no matter who's here, if it's live or on the replay. But you get gold stars for choosing yourself and your goals and being and tuning in to us, as it were. Okay, friends, the heat is clearly getting to me. What final thoughts you want to leave people with? Christine, you can have the first final thought.
I just come back to give yourself grace and count all the things. Give yourself credit for all the things you're doing in service of making the impact you want to make with your creative work. Count all the things.
Awesome. Okay, Judith, final thought.
I think I'll coattail a little bit on Christine. I had a book called The Confidence Factor. The fourth commandment of building confidence is to take credit for the work you've done. And sometimes just getting up today is the big one. Okay?
Getting up in the morning is a big deal, especially with all that's going on in the world. So,
yeah.
Right? Gotta celebrate all the things. Danielle, final thought.
Final. Something that I'm learning in this process always is to enjoy the process, to not be so caught up in being productive that we don't enjoy the process of getting there.
I love that.
Come be productive, Goodjelly style.
Well, I always say when you love what you do, it shows. When you don't love what you do, it really, really shows. So why wouldn't you just love what you do? Thank you so much.
Thank
Judith,
you.
Christine, and Danielle for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And again, follow at The Deb Method and or get the recaps at thedebmethod.com/blog. Okay, everybody gets a gold star for showing up because that's the first step of productivity. Now do the things, write the words, go on out there and go for it because we know you can do it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Deb.